In today's video, I'm sharing 6 unhealthy habits that I got rid of, which has really improved my health and also my life in general because I feel more energized, my sleep has improved, and I just feel better overall. And dropping these habits might do the same thing for you. Hello friends and welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Hannah and on this channel, I talk about what I know about health, productivity, and becoming your best self. So if that's something you're interested in, consider subscribing and sticking around. Habit number 1, wearing sunglasses in the morning. You've probably heard about the fact that going outside in the morning, taking a small walk is very good for you. First, because it helps you to get your steps in, and second, because of the fresh air, and third, because of the light. And that is true, but if you put your sunglasses on in the morning light, you reduce the effect of that outside daylight on your body, which is a very, very important effect if you want to optimize your internal clock. Because our internal body clock, aka our inner intuition for when to be awake and when to be asleep, is actually on average more than 24 hours long. Although, as you might know, our typical day length is 24 hours. And that means that every day our body kind of has to reset its internal clock a little bit earlier in order to wake up as early as we want to wake up and to be sleepy when we want to go to bed. And daylight is the most important factor in having a healthy internal clock, especially the morning light. When you go outside in the morning without sunglasses, your body absorbs that morning light, that special morning light, and realizes, oh, this means it's morning. This means I need to be awake now. But when you wear sunglasses, you block out most of this very important internal clock helper called morning light. And if you do that, of course, don't directly look into the sun, because sun protection is also very important for our eyes, but at the same time, it's also important to use sunlight to our advantage, in this case, to help our internal clock realize that now it's time to be awake. Habit number 2 is eating a protein bars. And if you've been following me for a while, you know that I am a big fan of protein, but only the good type of protein. And I used to first not eat enough protein at all. And second, if I did eat protein, often that came in the form of a protein bar, typically from the supermarket kind of brands, or maybe even the fancier brands, but usually it was made out of whey protein, aka the cow protein, milk protein. And also typically there were a lot of weird things in that protein bar. First, either sugar or sweeteners, which is actually even worse, depending on the type of sweetener, than sugar, but also a lot of additives and things that I could not even pronounce if you wanted me to. And that's not healthy. That's not helping your body. We all know that additives and sugar and sweeteners are not good for our overall health, and especially our gut health. Now, our gut health is so important and still so underrated, also when it comes to things like getting leaner or building muscle in general. And especially if you work out to lose fat or weight in general, volume, protein bars are not the best way to go typically, because often they also have a good amount of calories and often not that much protein. If you look at the food label, you'll realize that sometimes it has like 200, 300 calories, but only 10 grams of protein. That's not good. And at the same time, it provides your body with a lot of unhealthy stuff, and not with vitamins and nutrients that real whole foods that are protein rich would give your body. There are good protein bars, especially nowadays, but still there are a lot of protein bars that are not the best thing. So if you really do want to eat protein bars and can't make a clean protein shake, opt for the clean and maybe dairy-free options. Habit number 3, not moving. And I do not mean not exercising enough. We all know that we need to exercise and that it's good for us. But I'm actually just meaning moving, walking, using every opportunity to actually move every part of our body that is movable, because our body, our muscles, our joints are made to be used and not to just sit or lay on the couch or sit at the desk and work all day long, but to be used. And if we don't use our muscles and our joints and, our whole body, it gets used to that, and at some point we won't be able to use it as well as we could have used it. And I learned this the hard way when earlier this year I had my knee inflammation going crazy and I could not really move anymore, and I was on crutches for more or less 2 months, and that led me to not even know at some point how to move my foot or how to lift my knee or my leg in general, to do the most basic easy movements, because my mind kind of forgot how to talk to the muscles in my leg and to make a move. But next to the muscles, that also had a big influence on my joints. I did not bend it fully, and I did not, stretch it, like make it straight for weeks, if not months, probably months. And I still, to this day, cannot fully bend my knee, because my joint now is so used to not being fully moved that it really takes a lot of time and physical therapy and exercising to get it back to just being able to perform the most basic movements of all, to just being bent and being straightened out. So please keep that in mind. Try to move as much as possible. And if that just means getting up from your desk and filling up your glass of water, or getting up and stretching for a second, or maybe even just do stupid movements or dance around to your favorite music, whatever feels good to you, just keep your body moving. Habit number 4, not chewing enough. Up until a couple of years ago, I always was considered the slowest eater ever. I took, I don't know, at least half an hour for a small portion of food while everybody else was done after like 10 minutes. But then I started working, and then I started having a lot of stuff to do, and I just needed to eat faster. And then I realized that had a big effect on how my body processed food, both in terms of body composition and feeling bloated and feeling icky in my stomach. Because chewing is the first part of digesting. And if we don't chew our food well enough, we're making it a lot harder for the rest of our digestive system to first extract all the nutrients, and second, to do stuff with the food that our body needs to do with the food. And that results in things like bloating, stomach aches, a lack of nutrients, because our body cannot absorb all the nutrients that we're putting in it. And also not chewing enough can lead to overeating, because we don't realize that we're already full and or satisfied. So take your time to chew your food, and while it may feel annoying at first and too slow, you'll get used to it, and then you're gonna be a slow eater, and you're gonna be mocked for it like I was, but it's worth it. Habit number 5, hustling and ignoring feelings of stress. Especially if you're an ambitious person, but also if you just have a lot of stuff to do, you probably feel stressed more often than not. And stress can be so harmful to our whole system. And I'm not talking about the good kind of stress. Sometimes stress can motivate us and can push us and can make us grow and learn and accomplish things. But probably most of the time, the stress that you also feel, and the stress that I used to feel a lot, and sometimes still do obviously, is the not good kind of stress. And this not good kind of stress leads our body to produce too much cortisol. Cortisol is the stress hormone that to some extent our body needs, but if our body has enough of it, it has a lot of negative effects on our health, including of course heart health. You've heard of that. But it also makes us sleep a lot worse. It makes us irritable. It makes us hungry. When we're on a lot of stress, it's first a lot harder to discipline ourselves, also in terms of eating healthy or not eating unhealthy, but also we just crave feel-good food. Stress can hinder our muscle growth, and also obviously it's not good for our mental health. When I first started to do my side hustling thing, when I was still in my 9-to-5 job, I had my puppy, I had my side hustle, I had my workout routine, I had my 9-to-5 job, I had a social life, I had so many things I wanted to do, and I still had a lot of energy at the time, so I thought I could do it. I can just take everything on that I wanted to take on. And that worked for a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months, but at some point, I didn't even realize it at first. I was so irritable, I was annoyed, I was angry, I didn't have motivation to do anything anymore, no matter how much I liked the thing before. And at some point, I couldn't even get anything done anymore because my brain just said, okay, stop. We need to take a break. And I ignored that for too long, so that when I just was basically burnt out, I had to take a very long break, and I had to really go back into the soft hustling mode very slowly and very softly to not get overly stressed again. And ever since, I feel like my resilience has been a bit lower than it was before my burnout. Another example where I really learned what cortisol can do to our body is earlier this year when I had my knee inflammation and I was on cortisol, because cortisol can also be used as medicine if you've never heard of that. It can help with a lot of things, including inflammation. But the thing is, if you take cortisol, your body gets more cortisol than is good for it, which helps keep inflammations lower than they would be probably. But also, it has a lot of side effects, including racing heartbeat. Do you say racing heartbeat? Like my heart was racing all the time. I could not really sleep. I was irritable. I was moody. I was sad. And I could not stop eating. At first, because when I started my cortisol therapy, I was still very much into intuitive eating and I've never tracked calories or anything before. So I just listened to my body and ate whatever I wanted to, and I wanted to eat a lot, incredible amounts of food. And at some point when I couldn't close the button of my pants anymore, I realized, oops, something's happening. And first, it was because I ate a lot of things. And second, also your body starts to be in a stress mode. It thinks something bad is happening, so it starts to protect itself, also by burning fewer calories, because it thinks that maybe soon you'll will not have food anymore because it's under stress, and stress once upon a time meant no food or death. So it stores a lot of fat. And that's why, if you've ever heard of this, people who take cortisol tend to get a very round face and to just gain a lot of fat all over their body, which is partly not fat but water, but it looks like fat. And while I'm very grateful for modern medicine, I now know that if not really necessary, and only if there's no other option, I would ever take cortisol again, because I just know it really messed up my whole body system. So don't stress yourself out. It's not gonna work out in the mid or long run. I know that sucks. I know sometimes we feel like we don't have the choice, or we really want to get things done and we want to fit all of the things that we want into our life. But keep in mind to take a break now and then, to breathe, and to do things that balances out the stress, the negative stress that you have in your life. Habit number 6, drinking coffee after 3 p.m. And I'm still kind of struggling with this because I love coffee and I have my morning coffee, and then sometimes I just like to have an afternoon coffee, and that often happens after 3 p.m. But then I heard about the fact that our body takes a lot of time to get rid of the caffeine from just 1 cup of coffee. On average, after 7 hours, there's still half of the caffeine from 1 cup of coffee in our body. Meaning, if you have your last coffee at 3 p.m., your body still has half a cup of caffeine at 10 p.m., which does not help us to fall asleep, even if you think, nah, I can fall asleep quickly as your sleep is gonna be a lot worse if your body is still under the influence of caffeine. So nowadays I even try to have my last coffee before 2 p.m. unless I know that I'm gonna be up all night. Then I allow myself a little exception, but I really felt such a big difference in my sleep quality when I stopped drinking coffee too late in the p.m. These were the 6 unhealthy habits that have really held me back from becoming my healthiest self. Consider dropping them yourself and help your body be healthier in a very easy way. If you like this video, please give it a like, hit subscribe if you want more content like this, and I will see you in my next video.